In this episode of Zoomer Life,
people who actively got up, got out, and socialized, and made connections actively, were 3 times less likely to die of medical illness than people that didn't.
Zoomer Life, health, wellness, and longevity from the world's brightest minds.
I think Nicholas's message juxtaposes in an interesting way with these 2 very grounded professionals dealing in the reality of the human body. Nicholas has a different prescription for human happiness. This is Nicholas Boothman. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I'm not a doctor. I'm actually a former fashion photographer, but I've studied people my whole life, and I've got 2 presentations today. One of them has got lots of facts and figures and charts and PowerPoints and stuff, or we can have just fun. Which one would you prefer? If you want the latter, just make a noise. That's fine. Okay. So my talk is called Connect and Live Longer, and it's kind of interactive, so if I can go down here with my bifocals and ask a couple of questions. Did anybody come here today on a bicycle? Put up your hand if you came on a bike. No. Did anybody drive here today? Put up your hand. This is putting up your hand. Did anybody, you drove here? You drove here. How do you know that? How do you know you drove here today? Let me share a secret with you. I'm a professional speaker. When a professional speaker asks you a question, it's a setup. You can say anything you like. We ask this stuff, and we know people are going to go, oh, and everyone else is going to say, thank God he didn't ask me.
I have a parking stop.
How do you know you have a parking stop?
This is my purse.
That's very good. I'm going to back off from you. How do you know you're here right now?
I'm breathing.
You're breathing. Very good. What else?
I'm nervous because somebody's got a microphone.
How do you know you've got a microphone?
I feel it in my hand.
Great. What else?
I don't know.
Can you see it?
I can see it.
You can
Yes,
see
I
it. What else?
I can touch. I'm touching.
You can talk. Okay, thank you very much. That's fantastic. There's only actually 6 things any of us do on a day-to-day basis apart from body functions and urges. 5 of them are we go into the world and we have experiences through our senses. You know you came in your car today because you can remember what your senses took in. You can play back what your senses took in. And so that's 5 of the things are we go into the world and we have experiences through our senses. There's only one other thing we do, and we're all doing it right now. What do you think it might be? Yell. This is interactive. This is connecting. Anybody? Okay, you get a free book. And what do I have to do to bribe someone to yell? What else do you do? Thinking. Thank you, but underneath thinking. Pay attention. You get a book because you answered that. There you go. Pay attention. That's a crafty answer, actually. That's quite good. Anybody else? Feeling. Nah, that's a sense, or that's a... Throw up? Who said throw up? Okay, it's one of those questions. The only other thing we do is we process language. We put our experiences into words, explain them to ourselves, and then explain them to other people. Your habits determine your personality, and your personality becomes your destiny. And it does that because our personalities go out and connect with other personalities.
Get the latest Zoomer Life news, presenter information, and watch streaming video at www.zoomerlifeconference.ca. Zoomer Life, health, wellness, and longevity from the world's brightest minds.
We go out into the world and we have experiences through our senses. We put our experiences into words. And as your experiences become words, your words become thoughts. Your thoughts become ideas, your ideas become actions, your actions become habits. Your habits determine your personality. Am I shouting? I'm getting really excited here. Your habits determine your personality, and your personality becomes your destiny. And it does that because our personalities go out and connect with other personalities. That's kind of all we do. We have experiences, explain them to ourselves. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm explaining my experiences to you. You're sitting there, you can see me, you can feel your chair, you can maybe smell the person next to you. I don't know what's going on here. And you're talking to yourselves. You're either saying, oh, this guy's amazing, or this guy's an idiot, or I wish I'd had more scrambled egg for breakfast this morning. You're talking to yourselves. And so what we do is we take these out and we connect with other people. Interesting point is that experience is words, words, thoughts, thoughts, ideas. You see, the whole process is called making sense. It's how we make sense of the world. But by the time we're about 10 or reach puberty, we've learned to do this thinking without thinking. We just start thinking stuff. We see someone walk in a room, we say, oh, I don't like that person, I don't like porridge, I like this. We think without thinking. And what happens is that we tend to develop a style of thinking, or we call it an explanatory style, ways of explaining your experiences to yourself without thinking. And there tend to be two styles. There's a positive style and a negative style. If you have a positive style, you tend to be very good at spotting opportunities. If you have a negative style, you're tend to get very good at spotting problems. Now, in our world, we need all these kinds of people to make the world happen. I mean, I want my airline pilot, my doctor, my dentist, and my bank manager to be good at spotting problems. I don't want to get on a plane and have a pilot who's just an opportunity guy, and I'm going on a plane from Toronto to Paris, and he's saying to the rest of the, hey guys, it's over there somewhere. No. But also with that, though, comes language. With people who are good at spotting opportunities, their language tends to be positive. And it's quite useful for them. For people who tend to put their experiences into the negative, their language tends to become negative. And as we grow older, we find ourselves naturally, well, not me, but there are people who find themselves naturally talking themselves to death. How come there's a battle? Why did this happen to me? Oh my, they start talking in the negative. So it's worth thinking about that to start policing your language and putting them into the positive. For example, instead of saying don't panic, you could say stay calm. Instead of saying, if I go into a store and someone serves me and at the end I say, thanks very much, that was great, they say, it's not a problem. I think, well, it's not a jumbo jet or a bottle of claret either. I think they mean it's a pleasure. So just slowly over time, we start giving ourselves language which can be harmful. Empathy. It is your biggest asset when connecting and dealing with other people. One-day-old babies cry when they hear other babies cry. What's that all about? That's superpower empathy switched on day one.
Get the latest ZoomerLife news, presenter information, and watch streaming video at www.ZoomerLifeConference.ca. ZoomerLife. Health, wellness, and longevity from the world's brightest minds.
But let's get back up here for a second when we go out and connect, because Dr. Zach Levine, I'm just basically going to follow on what he said about being energetic and going out and connecting with other people. But it so happens that at this stage where we have our personality and it drives our destiny, everybody in this room, with the exception of psychopaths, came into this world with 5 superpowers. And when I say superpowers, I don't mean things like jumping over buildings like Superman. We've got machines that can do that. I mean things that machines can't do. Everybody you know, everybody in this world came into this world with the number 1 superpower, enthusiasm. We all come into this world full of it. Of course you come into the world full of enthusiasm, otherwise you'd never have made it out. We come in kicking and screaming and hooting and hollering. Superpower number 1, switched on day 1. Number 2 superpower, curiosity. The ability to learn, uniquely human, to learn about our environment so we can improve our lives and our knowledge. Number 3 superpower, the ability to process feedback, the ability to look at something, to do something, and then improve it, to change what you do until you get what you want, keep changing. A lot of people, some of these superpowers have gone to sleep. For example, the curiosity superpower. In young people, when they're learning to think without thinking, by the time they get maybe 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, their curiosity gets dampened down by well-meaning and sometimes not so well-meaning people. But for example, kids who say, they keep asking questions, and sometimes parents say, you ask too many questions. Why do you ask so many questions? Are we there yet? When are we going to be there? Why is this? Who, what, blah, blah, blah. That's why God invented red wine, okay, for parents. What was that, dear? Yeah, okay, sure. So the third superpower is the ability to process feedback. And who is better than that, than Moses, who takes things and makes them grow by improving them. But we all do that. It's a superpower. The fourth superpower is empathy. It is your biggest asset when connecting and dealing with other people. We came into this world with empathy. One-day-old babies cry when they hear other babies cry. What's that all about? That superpower empathy switched on day one. And the final superpower is imagination. The ability to take what comes in through our senses and use it to lift ourselves to great heights or to plummet ourselves right down, to talk ourselves into misery. It's simply really the ability to take the information that comes in through our senses and distort it with some words added. If you have, I say this with the greatest of respect, and I know I'm way out of my depth here because there are doctors and medical professionals everywhere, but from my humble, silly little point of view, if you have a problem in any area of your life, just before or on the way to the doctor, just check to see if your superpowers are all still working as they were when you were born. Check to see you can still get enthusiastic. Check to see your curiosity is still alive and you just don't go, oh, I can't do anything. Check to see that you're processing feedback, that something happens, you say, oh, these things always happen to me, this is terrible. Check to see if you can make them better. Check to see if your empathy, check to see you can still see the world through other people's eyes, their ears, their minds, and their words, because that's what empathy is. It's the ability to see the world through other people's senses. And check to see your imagination works, and you're not just talking yourself to bits. And you know, we have the stats to prove how important this is. Again, Dr. Levine got pretty close. Stat number one, the biggest study of its kind done, it's called the Alameda County study done by Lisa Berkman. They looked at 9,000 people over 7 years between the ages of 35 and 65, regardless of whether they smoked, they drank, whatever they did for a living. And they found that people who actively got up, got out, and socialized, and made connections actively, were 3 times less likely to die of medical illness than people that didn't. Swallow that, baby. 3 times. In other words, if you didn't get out, you were 3 times more likely to die of medical illness. You can find it on the internet. It's all there. It's a very big study of its kind. So getting out, look, we've got each other. Our superpowers make it so that we can get out and we can connect with other people. To write my love book, we looked at 2,400 couples who'd been together for more than 20 years and were still actively nuts about each other, to find out what they had in common. We also looked at 300 people who consistently mess up in relationships and posited the question, can you go from that group to that group? The answer is yes, if you want to, and you'd be amazed how many people didn't want to. But one of the things we found was that in great couples, also in great relationships, and even in some business relationships, turns out that each person has one key feeling. That's the one feeling you have to feel when you're with somebody in order to feel really great. And it also turns out there's only 4 key feelings. When you know your key feeling in any relationship, that you can immediately rule out 75% of the people you meet instantly, because you'll know whether or not they make you feel that way. You can still hang out with them, but as far as the long-term relationship goes, mutual key feelings work very well. The other thing is to reignite your superpowers. As Dr. Levine said, go out, get out, connect, volunteer, do stuff. You can either reignite your superpowers one at a time, which is basically not necessary, or you can go out and connect with other people. The more you connect, make new connections, and socialize with other people, you are activating and reactivating your superpowers. Give me 5 things to do so you'll appear smarter socially. I said, okay, number one, wear great clothes. More people will take you seriously. It's that simple. Number two, when you go into a room full of strangers, head for the middle. Walk into the middle. Why? That's where the popular people go.
Get the latest ZoomerLife news, presenter information, and watch streaming video at www.ZoomerLifeConference.ca. ZoomerLife. Health, wellness, and longevity from the world's brightest minds.
Let me just share a couple of tips about what do you do. Let's say, for example, making a first impression. How long do you think it takes for someone to decide how they feel about you when they see you for the first time? Anybody? I'll say some numbers. Just make a noise. Clamp your hands, stamp your feet, hit the back of the head of the person in front of you. Anything just to make a noise. How about 5 minutes? How about 2 minutes? How about 90 seconds? The Harvard School of Health Sciences did the best research on the subject. The title of their paper read, "Students seeing a 2-second video clip of a teacher with no sound came to the same conclusions about that teacher as students who'd spent an entire semester with them." You know it's true. You know, I meet people all the time and say, when people get to know me, they really like me. Well, you know what? That's fantastic for your next door neighbor and your family and other people that can't escape you. But in dating and in business and in general socializing, forget it. 2 seconds, we take one look at it's the fight or flight response. We just look at someone, we think, is that person charming or alarming, or an opportunity or a threat or whatever. And so it's 2 seconds. And again, I was going to tell you some quick ways to get a first impression. But what I'll finish with, I did a piece on the Today Show last year with Meredith Vieira, and she said, okay, Nick, you've got 90 seconds. You walk into a room full of strangers. Give me 5 things to do so you'll appear smarter socially. I said, okay, number one, wear great clothes. More people will take you seriously. It's that simple. It doesn't mean to say they have to be, if you've got a green Mohican, make sure it's nice and green, okay? Just make sure. Number two, when you go into a room full of strangers, head for the middle. Walk into the middle. Why? That's where the popular people go. It's a perception. Popular people hang out in the middle. The people around the outside, wallflowers, ever heard of that? They're wallflowers. Number three, as you walk into the middle of the room, move marginally more slowly than you would normally. Why? People's peripheral vision perceive you as trusting, perhaps. But the big one is, it's sexy. Sexy people move marginally more slowly than people like me. Now, that does not mean the slower you walk, the sexier you are. You're just an idiot if you do that. Fourth thing is, overcome hesitation. Something I call the 3-second rule. If you walk, in an event like this, if you don't know, I did it over the road. Got to meet some fantastic people over the road. Just see someone in 3 seconds, walk over. Anything else is a hesitation. If you say, oh, I'll just wait till they put their cup down, or just wait till, I do that. No, you talk yourself out of stuff. Go over and say anything. Doesn't matter what you say. If they give you the brush off, doesn't matter. You've done it. You've overcome hesitation. Great for kids, this. And the fifth thing is, here's the good news and the bad news about face-to-face communication. You're a genius until you open your mouth. we know that. So how do you get people talking? You do what talk show hosts do. You ask a question, open question, statement followed by an open question. I hear Toronto's a great place. If I only had 4 hours, what should I see? I've got 25 seconds left, so thank you for having me. And I could talk all day. Help yourselves.
Nicholas, thank you.
Thank you.
Just hang in for a second. Nicholas, explain to us why questions that begin with the word how are more powerful than other questions.
Absolutely. Because they talk to, they're not subjective. If you ask somebody how they do something, A, they're going to answer you, and it's not like asking somebody why they do something. If you ask how, you're asking for an explanation. How did you ask that question?
So it's great to meet someone who thinks all you really need is love, and love isn't all that hard. You can find it in 90 seconds or less, yeah.